Hey guys, it's Leo Stargazer. I am here today with our weekly tarot reading. This is for the week of November 12th through November 18th, 2023. This week, I am really seeing a need for and a sense that we need to find out where we are most vibrant, how we can shine the brightest, basically how, where, and why our shine matters. So this week, I've chosen a spread inspired by the Major Arcana card, the Sun. I think understanding our sun and how we use that, where we use it, why we use it, all of those things, how we can basically shine as brightly as we should for ourselves and radiate out to others. I think this week is really going to call for that. This week really needs that. We all really need to understand the source of our radiance. And so hopefully this spread can help us with that. As I shuffle, let's take a deep breath. Let's focus on our inner sun. How that provides steady warmth for us, how we radiate out. Okay, and then let's draw our cards. Hopefully we get some clarity. The first position in the spread is abundance. And the card that I draw in abundance is the Ace of Cups reversed. Okay, the next card, we'll go over everything once I get all the cards laid out, but the next card is sunlight. So where do we find the source of our radiance? The card that I draw is the sun reversed. Wow. Very interesting getting the sun in a sun reading. Let's just keep going though, so we can go over it before I get too far ahead. The next position is inner light. So how we perceive where we're most radiant. Another reversed ace. The Ace of Pentacles reversed. Okay. How do we shine outward, outer radiance? How do we shine out? The Nine of Swords. Okay, finally. Over here we have cloudiness. What is potentially blocking our sun? Maybe what's keeping our sun in reverse, perhaps. What do we need to fight through or get through or work through in order to clear the clouds and make room for the sun, or to get the sun upright, if that's how we interpret it? Let's draw the cloudiness card. The 10 of Pentacles. Okay, this is a very interesting outcome. I am always surprised and intrigued when a spread with relatively quote-unquote positive positions, things like inner light and outer radiance and things like that, when we get fairly difficult cards in positive positions, it can be a challenge to interpret and a challenge to understand. With a spread like the Major Arcana reading for the sun, like the one we just did, when we get cards that are a little more challenging, I think that it does two things. First, it reminds us that there's balance in everything and that balance is really important. It also reminds us of the dynamism and nuance present in the tarot, and I find that fascinating. without getting into too much of the nitty gritty, I want to start with the card we got in the abundance position. We got the Ace of Cups reversed. The Ace of Cups reversed is almost the opposite of abundance. Certainly, it is the idea of the lack of creative flow, definitely the lack of, if not the lack of gifts from the universe, certainly the lack of accepting the gifts from the universe. So again, I think with a lot of these cards, there's the sense here that there's a little bit of a warning. Again, I think that's another thing, getting challenging cards in positive positions in the spreads. All of this is relative, but you know what I mean. I think there's this idea that sometimes we need to upright these cards, or that sometimes they can serve as a warning or an impediment. In this spread, we have a cloudiness card. So there is this idea that this card is probably blocking most of what we're getting in the sun positions. So I do want to focus on that, and I want you to look at the Ten of Pentacles, and we'll get to the Ten of Pentacles to explain maybe why these cards are coming out the way they are. This also might say something, before I go on, this might say something about how this week could be kind of challenging. There may be the perception that our sun can't shine as brightly, or the rays of our sunlight or our vibrancy is being misperceived or underappreciated even. But Ace of Cups in abundance, reversed. I think it's showing that we aren't accepting the gifts that are being offered to us. We aren't accepting the flow and the beauty and the emotional connection we can have to our own vibrancy. I think that's really what it's saying. I think there's maybe an abundance of that, or on the other hand, a lack of that. A lack of the positive version of that. More simply, we are lacking in the appreciation of abundant gifts, especially emotional ones. In the next position, the position of sunlight, so where we can go to get access to more vibrancy, what lights us up from the inside the most, how we activate or take advantage of that sun, of our own radiance. We got the sun reversed. I allow for the major arcana card that I am basing a spread on. I keep it in the deck because it's very consequential if it shows up in a reading, and it did. But it showed up in reverse, and I think that card, especially at the top of the spread, really speaks to the idea that we're a little upside down at the beginning of the week at least. Again, I think a lot of it has to do with what's clouding us. But the sun is in reverse. The good thing about the sun in reverse is that it has all of the qualities of the sun upright, meaning celebration, victory, vibrancy, all the things this whole spread is based on. Inner and outer radiance, abundance, all of that is still present. It's just blocked. There's an obstacle in the way. There's clouds in the way of the sun. And I think that the sun showing up reversed in sunlight in particular, meaning where our source of our radiance comes from, I think is really speaking to maybe a potential that your sun is blocked. It's speaking to this idea that our suns are blocked. Our source of power, our source of identity and radiance is blocked at the beginning of the week. Our inner light was the Ace of Pentacles, also reversed. The inner light position is a lot about what we value the most about ourselves, what we love the most about ourselves, how we take advantage of our own shine and our own vibrancy and our best qualities. Well, we got the Ace of Pentacles reversed here, which is not great. It's challenging. I think, it really speaks. Getting two aces in reverse, in one in what's abundant and one in our self-perception. It shows that the essence of these two cards is upside down. In the cups position, it was this idea of water, this idea of creativity, emotional flow. With the pentacles reversed, it's the idea of the material, our resources, our sense of security. We got the 10 of Pentacles and cloudiness. So again, I think that has a lot to do with what's clouding it or what's reversing it. But here there's a sense with the ace reversed in inner light that we are unable to, at the beginning of the week at least, to connect to our material world, our resources, and those spaces, the kind of everyday of it all. I think it showing up in inner light shows that, well, two things. It could show that where we usually shine is through our attachment to our resources. On the other hand, it could be in reverse here, still kind of a warning, but in a different way, that what we admire the most about ourselves, or maybe what we should, is our ability to step away from an over-reliance on those resources. The Ace of Pentacles on its own, in reverse, could mean this idea of stepping out of those comfort zones. And again, not to keep going back to it, but the 10 of Pentacles is hinting towards that too. We will get there. Okay, finally, before we get to the cloudiness position, we have the outer radiance position. How we're shining out, what we shine out, how we outwardly radiate, how we send our vibrancy out into the world, and also how other people perceive our light or how they receive it. We got the 9 of Swords. In terms of outer radiance, the 9 of Swords is complicated. On the one hand, maybe the most literal or the most straightforward is that people are perceiving us as going through some tough stuff. The way that what we are projecting out is that we are struggling. What we are projecting out is that we're going through a difficult time, guys. We need to express that, or we need to deal with it on our own. But regardless, people are perceiving that we are dealing with some kind of trauma. Maybe it's just even more simple than that, and it's just that we're kind of perceived as maybe dramatic. Maybe we're just giving out drama vibes. We're like, oh, we're so in it right now, and I can't deal with this right now, and it's too hard to get through, and I'm struggling. It could also be a little bit more positive than that, or not positive, but a little bit more edifying than that, meaning that, hey, I'm going through something right now, and I need support, and that's what we're kind of radiating out, is this idea that it's like, hey, I'm going through this because I know I need to. I'm struggling with this. And as we project that idea, maybe part of that is because we want some support from that, or at least some space. Again, though, because this is kind of complicated, to bring it back to to be a little bit more simple, the 9 of Swords in outer radiance is showing that we are dealing with something inside, and that's showing on the outside. If it serves as kind of a warning, like most of the other cards do, or if it's just blocked and needs to be freed, it could be that this sense or our ability to deal with and confront strong emotions and the maturity that is represented by that possibly we could be radiating that outward, and that people may perceive us as going through it, but that there is a sense, maybe underneath something, maybe clearing the clouds away, will reveal the sense that, or make it clear that what we're dealing with is important, or that we are dealing with something is important. Going through the emotional stuff is important, and maybe people are seeing that and sensing that. They could be sensing it either as just overly dramatic or an indication to give you space, or they could be perceiving it as, oh, wow, that person's really dealing with their emotions appropriately and they're going through it and I can tell, but that's strong and brave of them. And maybe clearing the clouds will open up that perspective too. Speaking of the clouds, let's finally get to them. I've been hinting this whole spread about this card. The 10 of Pentacles showed up in the cloudiness position. What is clouding our sun? What's potentially keeping some of these cards in reverse? What's potentially the obstacle in front of us that we need to fight through and get over? How can we combine what we can learn from that to clear away the clouds, get access to the sun card upright, in order to receive the gifts of the cup, receive the gifts of the pentacles, and understand this trauma position, this more difficult emotional journey? Well, in this position, we got the 10 of Pentacles. The 10 of Pentacles is an incredibly dynamic card. It, fortunately and unfortunately, doesn't give us a super solid answer because there are so many nuances to this card. And having this card show up as the clouds and how that affects it, I think guides us in a more specific direction, but let's get down to specifics. The 10 of Pentacles, in certain cases, can just mean stability. It can mean you are fully resourced and you are stable and you're going through your day-to-day and things are normal. If that's the case, as a cloud, as an obstacle, as a block to the sun, that could mean that you're over-focusing on the mundane stuff. You're over-focusing on resources. That's a potentiality. I think getting the Ace of Pentacles reversed hints that is possible. But again, on the other hand, also similar to the Ace of Pentacles reversed, there's this idea that what could be blocking us is either the need to escape the everyday for something big and beautiful, if not risky. It could also be that taking that risk, pushing yourself too far, could also be clouding it. I think, though, what's clouding the sun, and potentially what could help you make that decision, or make the sun more clear, or get better access to it, is figuring out where, when, and if you need to take a risk. Like I said, there's no solid answer with the 10 of Pentacles in the clouds position. But there is an indication that, with the whole spread, that our sunlight is blocked. And it's blocked by the 10 of Pentacles in one way or the other. You need to, this week, hopefully at the beginning of the week, you need to see what's holding you back from feeling creative. What's holding you back from feeling secure in your resources, secure in yourself? What are you focusing on that feels negative to you? What kind of trauma are you dealing with right now? What kind of worries are you holding on to? Think about all of those things. And then look at the space around you, look at the people around you, and decide, is this stasis what lights me up inside? Can I shine as vibrantly as I want to from this position, and am I radiating what I want to radiate? If the answer is yes, amazing. Then take advantage of your resources, find your overflowing fountain and your full, beautiful cup, and use that to unblock your sun. Deal with the trauma you need to deal with from the comfort of the space you're in. And then, with the sun upright in all of its glory, bask in the safety and security of the 10 of Pentacles. That's fabulous, that's beautiful, and that's absolutely appropriate to do if that's what you perceive when you go through all of those steps. If you go through all of those steps and you realize, I need to get out. This space, while it might be safe, is not comfortable. I feel like I'm shining brighter than this space, or that I need to shine from within in a place of maybe more freedom. Maybe you've been contemplating taking a risk, and after you analyzed the sources of your inspiration, your intuition, and balance that out with how you perceive your security, meaning you don't want to take a risk if you can't eat. You don't want to take a risk if you think it'll make you feel too unsafe to get access to the sun. This is all about getting access to the sun. But if you judge all of that and you say, I've gone through my trauma, my cup is in reversed, my resources are holding me back, I need to be free, and the sun upright is going to guide me there. Well, then the 10 of Pentacles here could say maybe a risk, or the idea of not taking one, is what's blocking you. That you know you need to step out of your comfort zone. Maybe it's less risk taking than it is just you need to step out of your comfort zone. Which of those coins, which side of that coin you land on, will really depend on how you see the aces here. The cloud that needs to be cleared for you is going to be informed by how you perceive what your intuition is telling you, certainly, but also how you feel inspired and secure. Inspiration and security. If you can understand the root of those things and where you want to journey next, where you want to shine your sun on next, how you want to shine out, once you know that, once you also understand what trauma you're dealing with and how you can get through that phase, I think you'll know whether or not you need to stay in your safe space and enjoy the pleasures of that contentment, or whether you need to step out and take some risks and bring your sunlight to different areas, different spaces within you, different spaces outside of you. Someone else maybe needs to see your sun, or your sun is too valuable where it is now. Again, deciding that is going to be what helps you clear the clouds away and free your sun. Get your sun upright. Like I said, the 10 of Pentacles, because of its dynamism and its nuance, doesn't provide any super clear messaging here. But it absolutely says, in conjunction with how the rest of the cards showed up, We need to be introspective at the beginning of the week, figure out how inspiration and resources helps us shine, and then figure out if shining in our safe space or shining outside of our safe space is what we need to have access to the most sunshine we can get, because that's what we deserve. I hope we do that at the beginning of the week. I hope you figure this out. This is not a straightforward reading. Things were very complex, dynamic, and nuanced, just like the Ten of Pentacles. But we got the sun in a reading about the sun, in a week where I felt that vibrancy was key. Let's get this sun card upright by dealing with what we need to deal with at the beginning of the week, making the decisions we need to make, doing the introspection we need to do in order to shine as brightly as we can. You deserve it, and other people deserve to experience your sunlight. They do. Comfort's amazing and can be the best choice. Stepping out of that could also be. You know best though. So trust yourself, trust your intuition, and let's get the sun card upright. I'll see you next week.